Let's pay a visit to Mark's True Crime Corner.
This is not a good neighborhood. I'm scared.
Now, here's your host, Mark Thompson.
And with our two guests, the person who usually takes us through is Courtney, everybody, my other half.
Yes.
And the special guest from network television's top murder for hire broadcast, the true crime specialist, number one podcaster. He's Josh Mankiewicz, everyone. Yeah. They come in all shapes and sizes, don't they, Josh Mankiewicz, these murderers? They're not always the spouse. Josh sending texts right now while he's talking to us.
I have to be on a conference call to talk about this Friday's Dateline in about 16 minutes.
Okay, so let's get started. Please, Courtney, what do you have for us today?
Well, we have Josh, and he's talking about the episode that will run on Friday.
Yeah, Josh, will you tell them you're going to call them, and you'll be on the call in 16 minutes. But right now, what's going on Friday's Dateline? Thank you.
Well, it's a story about a murder in Orange County, California, back in 2018, in which a woman was killed when she opened a box in her office. It was she owned a spa, the kind that you'd go to get your nails done or a facial, like a day spa. And she had returned from a trip to Hungary. She was Hungarian. She'd gone home to visit family, and she came back, and there was a box waiting for her, a package, and she opened that package. And we know this because there were a couple of other people in the room with her who saw her open the package. And then instant later, there was a flash of light, a huge explosion, and then the building sort of collapsed on them.
Wow.
Partially collapsed. And the woman was killed. Her name was Ildiko Krajniak. She was literally blown to bits.
Wow.
They found parts of her all over the place. And the other two women who were in the room with her at the time, who I think were paying for their services at that moment, were seriously injured and remain seriously injured to this day.
That guy that we're seeing on the left here in that picture, Stephen Beal, he was the accused bomber.
He was the accused. He was her ex. He was also her business partner at the spa. But one of the things that the investigation of this brought out was that in addition to him being her ex, a lot of other people were her exes, and a lot of other people were currently going out with her or thought they were. Despite the fact
this is a perfect Dateline, huh? Because you don't know who. There's so much motive.
Despite the fact that she was living with her husband, who is not this guy Stephen Beal, and that's the husband there on the left, and. So, I mean, many people were persons of interest, at least for a while with law enforcement, because they were trying to sort of untangle Ildiko's kind of complicated social life, in which, she flew back from Hungary with one guy. And there's video of her landing in San Francisco from Hungary with this guy that she had flown back from Hungary with, and then she flies to LA, and a different guy picks her up at the airport.
Oh, wow.
And each of those guys thought, I think, that they were her boyfriend.
Wow.
And Stephen Beal thought that, and she'd had an affair with some other married guy down here, and the wife found out and went on the warpath against her. That couple was looked at. I mean, there were a lot of people who were potential suspects in this. Stephen Beal, who you see there with a headshot there on the right, which is
he was an actor, or what was he? That's a kind
he
of
was
an
like
actor.
a kind of a aspiring actor, and was in a play while we were shooting this. So the story. So we went to his play and we shot it. And the great thing about it is it's the play of 12 Angry Men, now called 12 Angry Jurors. Yeah, because it's not all men, but he's playing the jury foreperson in a murder trial.
Oh, wow.
That's unreal. That's really wild.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an amazing story. And there's one more element to this, which is that, she's not the only one who had a complicated life. Stephen Beal had she and Beale and Ildiko had broken up, but they were still business partners. They were still close. They still sent each other all these sort of flirty, romantic texts. If there was a great deal of anger between them, it's certainly not represented in any text exchange that we've seen. He seems more interested in getting back together with her than being angry.
Oh, I see.
But he did appear to have moved on because he'd begun this relationship before Ildiko was killed. He'd begun a relationship with some other woman that he met online. Her name's Valerie. She stuck with Stephen Beale all through this whole ordeal of him being charged, and then the charges were dropped and he was released. And and we have Valerie, whose story is a pretty amazing one from start to finish. So that alone is sort of worth taking a look at Dateline.
Wow! So this is a Friday. Go ahead, Courtney.
Well, I was going to ask because Stephen's wife died as well, right?
Yes.
10 years before this happened.
Oh,
I know.
That's kind of important, Mankiewicz. Why didn't you mention that?
Well, I'll tell you why. And that's actually not in the Dateline episode. And here's why. Here's why.
Yeah.
Here's why. His wife did die a number of years ago, but it's not like she died like in a gas explosion or in some other, unnatural like that way. But she died after she and her husband, Stephen, were moving a piece of furniture in their house. They were going downstairs. He was at the top. She was at the bottom carrying this dresser. At some point, he loses his grip. The dresser falls on her and injures her enough to go to the emergency room. And she does, but then she's okay. She comes home. She still has issues from that, and she has to go back to the hospital a few times. And then eventually those injuries, along with some other sort of unexplained medical conditions of hers, or unexplained to us medical conditions, that causes her to die, the wife. Now, here's why that was looked at as a possible homicide back then, before we knew about the bombing or anything like that. And then it was looked at again after he was a person of interest in the Ildiko murder. But charges were never brought, in part because the wife had ample opportunity to say to people, my husband was trying to kill me. He deliberately dropped this piece of furniture on me. He was trying to kill me. I mean, she was out of his control for long periods of time. She could have said that to doctors, nurses, family, cops, anybody, but she didn't. She didn't ever make that charge, which is why I decided not to include something that the guy wasn't accused of, because he was accused in the Ildiko murder. But there was never a case in that. And you can't make a good argument that there should have been a case in that. I mean, you could make an argument that somebody should look at it, but somebody did look at it a couple of times, maybe more than a couple of times, and it never went anywhere. Again, if she died in some kind of explosion, in some kind of fire, and that would be different. That'd be different. But that is not what happened. So we did not, although look, I mean, the other side of this is most of us go our entire lives without anybody that we're dating or married to dying. And this guy, it's happened to twice. That in and of itself is certainly suspicious, but he was accused at one point in the Ildiko case. But the first thing never led to any criminal charges, and so we didn't put it in.
I see. Well asked and answered.
Yeah, exactly.
So, so go ahead,
when
Courtney,
they were
another
searching,
question?
and also when they were searching Stephen's home, right? They found a 7-foot rocket. I think I read.
Well, he was he had a.
And what's your point?
If I found a 7-foot rocket in the house, I'd have some questions for you.
First of all, 7-foot rocket was Mark's nickname.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, that must have been a while ago.
No, it was very recently, actually.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I was at Dateline then, but Stephen Beale was, no question about this. Stephen Beale made homemade fireworks and set them off with his kids. No question that he did do that. Also, no question that he was a model rocket expert and sort of hobbyist. And he built these giant rockets, 7 feet, maybe more than that. There was one that seemed to reach like to the second story of a home, and
Wow.
he would take them out into the desert outside of LA, and he would shoot them off. And we have video of one of those. It does not look like a model rocket, because the model rockets that I remember when I was a kid were like that big. And
you make it with balsa wood fins and stuff.
Yeah, and they would go up sort of treetop height or maybe a little more, and then they would.
Well, yours probably only went up treetops. Mine really got some altitude.
Right. Well, these look like something that NASA would launch.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
This does not, the thing that you'll see does not look like a model rocket. It looks like a rocket. And he had the chemicals to make the model rocket fuel and to make homemade fireworks in his house. And they were all dusty. I mean, it didn't appear that he had used them recently, but that became an issue because the FBI, which responded to this because it originally looked like it could be terrorism, the FBI said that those were the same chemicals that would have been used to make that bomb.
I see. Wow, there's a lot going on here. This is going to be a very good Dateline episode.
It is.
So it's
It's
Friday.
a lot of information that I didn't even find.
Friday night, it's a 2-hour thing. Is that what it is, Josh?
It's 2 hours, but it's going to feel like 4 or 5. Trust me. So you're going to want some coffee.
No.
But it's 2 hours, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on your NBC station. And then, of course, it will be available as a podcast, and it will be available on Peacock streaming. So you can consume it any way you want.
Wow. Josh Mankiewicz, has it changed you to be this popular? You really are the toast of the true crime world now, Josh.
I was always this smug.
There it is, Dateline NBC and Apple Podcasts. Again, it's top of the list, and you can find Josh here occasionally. We love our Mank, and
Right.
7-foot
rocket. Great to see you again.
Thank you, Josh Mankiewicz. Courtney, that's
thank
Mark's
you.
True Crime Corner.
Thank you, Josh.
For
Thank
today.
you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
True Crime Corner, only on the Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.